Hi, everybody, and welcome to Teaching Tip Tuesday, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning here at UWSP. This week, I'd like to talk to you about a topic that's near and dear to educators everywhere, but is often poorly understood. That is scaffolding of learning and learning activities. When most of us think of scaffolding, we think about chunking of content and assignments, but it's a little bit more complex than that. The term scaffolding in educational contexts is a metaphor. Just as we place scaffolding around new construction projects to kind of hold them up while the building is ongoing, scaffolding in education is support that we provide to learners as they're learning. Most educators don't distinguish between simply having an organized learning platform and actual scaffolding. So, to understand the difference, we need to look at the theory behind scaffolding. According to theory, we can conceptualize the learning space as an area. In this case, the blue circle represents the full extent of some knowledge or skill that we're trying to teach our students. The zone of actual development is shown by the purple circle. This represents the area of student competence, where the students know or can do things without support. This is the portion of the total that the student has reliably mastered. So, if you're teaching a mid-level French course, this might include basic vocabulary or understanding of simple sentences that are spoken or written in French. Extending away from this, we have the zone of proximal development, which is shown here in pink. This circle represents the area in which required skills or knowledge are just beyond the competency of the student to complete independently, but success is possible with support. So, in your French class, perhaps this means that students can extend their vocabulary and understand simple metaphors or idioms with help. Reading a French newspaper might require the help of a good French-English dictionary. Extending beyond this, we see the zone of distal development in blue. This represents the area in which required skills or knowledge are so far beyond the competency of the student that success is not possible even with support. So, for our students in mid-level French courses, maybe they couldn't read Proust or be dropped in Normandy and be expected to understand everything that's going on around them, even with support, because it's just too far from their skill level. These circles are all well and good, but let's think about what all of this means. Learning occurs when students practice the knowledge and skills in the zone of proximal development. Students can't learn or acquire new skills if they just keep doing what they're already good at. Teaching involves pushing students out of the zone of actual development into the zone of proximal development and providing support for learning. Scaffolding is the support that instructors provide to facilitate student completion of tasks, allowing them to gain skills. Here's the part that's less intuitive. Learning is only evident when students become able to complete tasks in the zone of proximal development without the scaffolding. This means that their zone of actual development expands to encompass what used to be the zone of proximal development, and the zone of proximal development expands into what used to be the zone of distal development. So, what about putting all this theory into practice? Well, it's not always that easy. The zone of actual development and the zone of proximal development vary from student to student. So, decisions about how to scaffold a course necessarily support the average zone of proximal development, which sometimes means that we are failing to promote learning in advanced students and not actually supporting the lower performing students at the level that they need. To do these things, we may need to add challenges to the course or provide remedial materials. Another problem with the application of these ideas is that in order to see or measure learning, we must remove the scaffolding. We can't see change in the zone of actual development unless students have to complete tasks without the scaffold. Now that you have a better idea of what is meant by scaffolding, I'd like to leave you with a few ideas about how you can scaffold your course to support students in the zone of proximal development. First, clearly identify the component knowledge and skills for successful achievement of learning outcomes. This will ensure that you're providing students with all of the ingredients that they need to succeed at the learning outcome in question. Try front-loading concept-specific vocabulary and quizzing students to check basic factual recall before engaging them in application. This will ensure that the students have mastered the elements that they need to engage in higher-order activities. Activate prior knowledge with discussions or quizzes to prepare students to build upon existing knowledge and skills. Students often need an opportunity to remember the things that they've learned before, and providing them with small activities to rekindle their knowledge will provide a better platform for elaboration of knowledge and skills. Include visual aids to augment verbal descriptions. What you're saying probably makes perfect sense, but visual helpers can allow students to decode complex language more easily. Allow time for processing and metacognitive reflection before advancing. Just because you say something doesn't mean students will learn it or remember it. Give them time to assimilate knowledge. Start with small activities and build to more complex exercises that put skills together, emphasizing how each builds upon the last. Finally, break those large concepts and assignments into smaller chunks that are bite-sized bits that are easier for the students to complete. Remember, learning occurs when the zone of actual development expands as a result of the supported work in the zone of proximal development. Providing appropriate support to students as they build their knowledge and skills is important in expanding that zone of actual development. And that's this week's teaching tip, brought to you by the Center for Inclusive Teaching and Learning here at UWSP. Remember, at CITL, we offer support for course design, learning activities, assessment, and pedagogy. Visit our website to schedule a consultation today.